also had a real mirror experience with Pete, where on about the second day it just became so clear to me.
Pete is your husband?
Yeah, sorry. And I stood there looking at him, like I was really, took me by surprise to hear what I must sound like, and worse, you know, just with the nose. Get off, stop it, don't do it, put it down, like that. Which was great, because it really made it a lot easier for me to be aware and present, you know, and just to like slow down a little bit and see how I was behaving in each moment. And another thing I noticed was that I was still going to the negative. So I was using the skills and I was going, couches are not for jumping on. Instead of saying, it looks to me like you want to jump. Trampolines are for jumping on. Shall we go to the trampoline? I was still doing, couches are not for jumping on. You know, water is not for splashing out or whatever, like that. But as the time goes by, I definitely have found I'm becoming more fluent in not going to the negative. And Danny, my 3-year-old boy, really responded well. He did give me a few looks, you know, like, what are you on about? Who is this person? And I could see that those skills were really effective with him. I mean, I didn't have to do the couch run 67 times. And I could see it. You know, it will get easier as the time goes by. The couch is obviously his thing. Climbing and jumping on the couch. And I had a real a moment of clarity this week. I really got the distinction between being strict and being fierce. And I know that I shared last week around how I have a lot of anxiety and fear around how I deal with Daniel. Like I'm quite scared of him, actually, that's the truth. Because he's inconsistent and I never know what I'm going to get. And so I am very fearful. And that's a whole other thing. But I think what I got was how I was being fierce to almost try and, you know, get him into submission. When actually it really, really wasn't working. And I really get the distinction of strict. And I don't mean in a, you know, in a scary way, just being firm, without necessarily being fierce. And so I saw huge results with that. Bedtime took me 5 minutes the other night on my own. Pete went had to go to a meeting, and I just said how it was going to be, and they both responded. I couldn't believe it. I got back downstairs, and I was like, I don't know what just happened. So that's been a huge thing for me this week, is to put these things in place without fear, but as the boss, you know.
Yeah. And before I did the course, which was in March, I think, March, April, my family life was a disaster. Like, I didn't take it by the reins at all, and my kids were crazy. They ruled the house. There was no systems, there was no boundaries, there was like, and that was one of the reasons why I got onto the course. And last night, when I put my kids to bed at 7:30, and they were asleep at 7:45, I was able to sit back and say, wow, like, my family life is amazing. Lots of stuff, lots of holes still, but I feel like we've come such a long way. And my kids are grounded, and there's, we've got things like house rules and boundaries, and it's really just great that we've come that far. And as I was putting my 10-year-old, we were tucking, you know, saying the good nights and the prayers and whatever. And she said, Mom, you know, I must just tell you, when you yourself, like when you're just you, and you're not angry, or you're not like, you know, what did she say? You don't even have to smile. You're just you. Then you make my day. Oh. Even when I'm having a bad day with my best friend at school, I come home and you just make my day. And that was really like a big thing. I wanted to burst out crying.
Okay, yeah, towards the end of last week, I just noticed, obviously with the workshop still being fresh in my mind, that it was interesting for me. We had friends over, and how many times they were saying no to their kids, or even my partner, how many times he was saying no. And it almost felt like I wanted to go and photocopy it and hand them out, because I mean, the little boy, he was 14 months, and in the play date that afternoon, it must have been about 40, 50 times, you know, and how automatic it is, and you don't actually think of alternatives. So sort of towards the end of last week, the alternatives were working great.
I think generally
in the house it was just much more positive energy. As soon as my energy became more positive, I think the children pick up on it straight away. A big thing was also to get Nick in on it, because like you mentioned,
So
straight away you can notice so much how many times somebody else is saying no, because their awareness is not their yes. Nick is my husband. So it was also a matter of trying to find time for him to get in on it, and like he's quite perceptive, so you know he's also like on the same project now, trying. Yeah, so that it's amazing how you pick up on the other people's energy saying no all the time, and you can also see it straight away with the kids. Like, okay, a big one this week is my 8-year-old is completely skipping mad. She just wants to skip all the time, and I mean it's really annoying to be somebody to be skipping right there next to you constantly on their little like a hamster. But and also invariably they want to do it right next to you all the time. So it was also just making space in terms of like literally creating the space. Okay, this is where you can skip, and you know you skip outside, or you can skip here inside if it's windy or whatever. So it became like, yes, you can skip, and then seeing like Nick coming into the house and she's skipping. Get that skipping rope outside. I'm going to throw that skipping rope away. So it's just straight away, like you could just see, shame, she's dying to skip. That's all she wants to do. And you can just see it so clearly. So that was one
For
thing.
me, as I said earlier, the light bulb thing was just about my responsibility, because for me it's the children's responsibility to tidy up their room, and you know, please don't tidy up your room, and then coming and shouting them when it's not done, and actually seeing that it's my responsibility to work with them and to then support them to do it. So it really is, and that TV room is going to be my focus this next week.